Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and another Genre Maker episode. Now, a lot of the ones that we've talked about recently have been pretty well known overall. However, that's not always the point of the genre or type of game that really defines one. Sometimes it's a rare or unknown one that resonates with developers and sends them down a path to make a game that, well, they love or wish had gotten more pop. So, with that said, we're going to take a look at one of the exceptions that wasn't really popular, because we're going to dive back into the world of strategy RPGs. Now, that doesn't mean strategy RPGs aren't popular, just this particular one. Now, for those of you who know what strategy RPGs are, well, bear with me as I explain for a moment to everybody else. A strategy RPG is often a turn-based affair, much like an RPG would be back in the day. However, the strategy part puts you into command of multitudes of units, how they need to be positioned in advantageous ways in order to do the most damage without taking damage themselves. These games alone are hard enough, but however they're made more complicated in the case of real-time strategy RPGs. Like, say example, Warcraft and Starcraft. In these, you'd have to make your moves while your opponent can move at the same time, making for an ever-evolving and changing combat scenario with less time to think between moves. Now, these aren't the most popular of titles, but they did have a big surge in the 90s that continued into the early 2000s, and were in large part responsible for, well, a lot of the MOBA scene as a whole. However, what sparked the idea for these most popular titles? Well, let's take a look at one that is often credited for being the inspiration for many of such titles. In 1989, Sega would release its second console to the States in the form of the Sega Genesis. This was a 16-bit console that would start to show the world that Nintendo wasn't really the unbeatable juggernaut that everyone really thought they were, and that there was still room for new and innovative ideas. This may sound like fanboyism or wishful thinking, but it's the honest truth. Sega took a lot of chances in their library. Some were revolutionary and some were just to kind of keep up with the impressive work going on over at Nintendo. In short, it pushed both companies to their very best, an avant-garde state. One such chance Sega took was a small game called Herzog Zwei, which I think I mispronounced. Now, this was a real-time strategy game released in 1990 by a company called Technosoft, specifically for the Sega Genesis. Yep, you heard me right. A real-time strategy game on the Genesis. Full disclosure, I didn't even really know this one until a friend of mine mentioned it to me on stream while I was playing some Sega games and was honestly looking for new ideas. Colored me happily surprised when it turned up again while I was looking for something to talk about this week. How this game worked was the player took command of a transforming mech. Okay, I already like this game. This mech could transport units in flight mode and engage as a jet, and this would give it air battle capability, or it could transform into a mech for some ground combat as well. You would have to manage these two modes along with your fuel and ammo. Yep, each unit had limited fuel and ammo, and it would have to be repaired, refueled, and resupplied with ammo in order to continue fighting. The overall objective would be to take over the various different outposts or deny them to your opponent, with each outpost allowing you to refuel and resupply. Once you had enough forces, you could take over the enemy base. In order to help you, you had various different units that you could purchase and have built from the various different outposts. 8 different ones in total, some of which were infantry, some were scout units, and others were just for sheer damage like the tank, or even patrol boats that would help you navigate the rivers, or even supply vehicles that would resupply units without them having to come back to base. You would have to manage all of this in order to pull out a victory. The game itself wasn't all that well received though, partially due to its lack of marketing for the game overall, and the fact that many of the games on the Genesis were more focused on arcade ports or in the vein of that gameplay style rather than more strategy-focused types of games. However, it did garner enough attention to influence people who would go on to develop such games as Warcraft, Starcraft, Command & Conquer, and even Dune 2, with people on those various different development teams citing this game as part of their influence for those future games. However, what do you guys think of this one? How many of you had it, and what did you think of it? Did any of you know the lasting influence it had on this genre of game? What's your favorite real-time strategy game? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, if you don't mind, please leave this video a like. And if you see more of my content you like, possibly some of it that's on the screen now, consider following the channel. That helps me out a ton. Until we meet again though, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me and making it this far in the video. And until we meet again, happy gaming.